The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel is not your typical finance book. It doesn't dive into charts, trends, or the hottest stock picks. Instead, it explores something deeper and more enduring: how our emotions, upbringing, experiences, and perceptions shape our financial decisions far more than cold, rational logic ever could. Through a blend of storytelling, behavioral insight, and timeless wisdom, Housel crafts a book that isn't about how money works, but about how people relate to money. And that distinction is at the very heart of why this book resonates so widely. One of the central themes of The Psychology of Money is that financial success is not always about what you know. It's more about how you behave. It's not intellect, but temperament, patience, humility, frugality, long-term thinking that ultimately determines whether someone becomes and remains wealthy. Housel makes the point early on that two people can have wildly different financial outcomes despite having similar income levels or access to information. Why? Because their experiences and emotions around money, formed over years of life, shaped by childhood, culture, and even random luck, lead them to make very different decisions. Throughout the book, Housel underscores how deeply personal finance truly is. What may seem irrational to one person might feel perfectly reasonable to another based on their life story. For instance, someone who grew up during the Great Depression may view the stock market as inherently risky, while someone raised during a bull market may view investing as easy and lucrative. These experiences aren't easily transferred or taught. They're lived, felt, and often unconscious. One of Housel's most powerful concepts is that of enough. In a world where ambition is often idolized, he reminds readers that knowing when to stop, when to be content, is a form of wealth in itself. The inability to recognize enough has brought down empires, bankrupted billionaires, and ruined lives. He shares stories of people who lost everything not because they lacked money, but because they wanted more, just a little more, always more. The takeaway here is profound. Contentment, not accumulation, is the true measure of financial wisdom. Risk is another recurring theme. Housel emphasizes that risk is not always visible. It hides in plain sight, and it varies depending on your perspective. What's risky for one person might be a calculated bet for another. The key is not to avoid risk entirely, that's impossible, but to understand it, respect it, and prepare for it. Saving money, for example, isn't just about building wealth. It's a hedge against life's inevitable surprises. An emergency fund, he notes, is more than a safety net. It's freedom, confidence, and peace of mind. Another key lesson from the book is that wealth is what you don't see. In other words, people often mistake displays of wealth, cars, clothes, big houses, for actual financial security. But real wealth is invisible. It's the money that wasn't spent. It's the investment portfolio quietly compounding over time. It's the freedom to make choices without being beholden to debt or appearances. Housel encourages readers to move beyond performative wealth and focus on building quiet, sustainable financial strength. Time is perhaps the most valuable asset in the psychology of money. Housel is a strong advocate of the power of compounding, and not just mathematically but psychologically. He recounts the example of Warren Buffett, whose massive fortune is not merely the result of investing genius but of time. Buffett started investing as a child and never stopped. His true edge is not superior stock picking but the endurance of patience over decades. It's a compelling reminder that getting rich slowly is often far more effective and realistic than chasing quick wins. Linked to this idea is Housel's distinction between getting wealthy and staying wealthy. Getting rich might involve risk-taking, bold moves, or a bit of luck. But staying rich? That requires humility, frugality, and the discipline to avoid the hubris that often accompanies success. Many people can strike gold once, but very few can hold on to it. The skills needed to grow wealth are not always the same as those needed to preserve it. This dichotomy is one of the most overlooked aspects of financial life. Housel also delves into how people view luck and risk. In one of the book's more philosophical turns, he argues that luck plays a far bigger role in financial success than most people care to admit. The same goes for failure. Some people make all the right moves and still lose because of bad timing or sheer misfortune. He urges humility in both victory and defeat, reminding us that outcomes don't always reflect effort or intelligence. This sense of grace, toward both ourselves and others, is one of the book's quieter but most powerful takeaways. A fascinating aspect of the book is its discussion on behavior over time. Housel cautions that people change. What you want at 25 might not be what you value at 45. Your goals evolve. Your responsibilities change. Therefore, financial plans shouldn't be carved in stone. They should be adaptable, reviewed regularly, and always open to change. Flexibility, he suggests, is a hidden superpower. The ability to pivot, to revise your goals or methods without shame or ego, is what allows people to survive and thrive over the long run. In an age of financial gurus, hot takes, and market predictions, Housel is refreshingly honest about uncertainty. The future is unknowable, he says, and pretending otherwise only invites poor decisions. Rather than trying to forecast the next big thing, he advises building a financial life that can endure a wide range of outcomes. That means saving more than you think you need, not overextending yourself, and living slightly below your means, not because you're afraid but because you're realistic. The book also touches on the emotional side of investing, greed, fear, envy, and how these feelings can sabotage even the most carefully laid plans. One moment of panic can undo years of disciplined saving. One bad decision, driven by FOMO or desperation, can wipe out a portfolio. To succeed financially, you don't have to be brilliant. You just have to avoid catastrophic mistakes. That means knowing yourself, recognizing your emotional triggers, and designing systems that keep you on track when your impulses try to derail you. Housel's writing also celebrates simplicity. In a world that often worships complexity, fancy strategies, advanced analytics, endless optimization, he argues that the basics work just fine. Spend less than you earn. Save consistently. Avoid debt when you can. Invest for the long haul. Don't chase fads. These principles may sound boring, but they work. They work because they are grounded in human behavior, not just spreadsheets. One of the book's most touching chapters is about legacy, not just financial legacy but emotional and psychological legacy. Housel suggests that how we talk about money, how we model it for others, especially children, can shape their entire relationship with it. Being open, honest, and intentional about money, sharing the values behind our decisions, not just the dollars, is a way to pass down not just wealth but wisdom. In that way, money becomes more than just a tool. It becomes a way to build a better life for future generations. Throughout The Psychology of Money, Housel uses simple language and compelling stories to illustrate his points. He draws from history, psychology, personal anecdotes, and even global financial events, all to show that money is never just about money. It's about human nature. About fear and hope, ego and pride, joy and shame. It's about what we value, what we fear losing, and what we dream of gaining. Perhaps the greatest strength of this book is its universal relevance. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a college student just starting out, or someone who's struggled with money for years, the lessons in this book apply. They're not tied to a particular market, strategy, or trend. They're tied to what it means to be human. That's why it resonates across age groups, income levels, and cultures. In conclusion, The Psychology of Money is not just a guide to managing your finances. It's a guide to understanding yourself. It gently challenges the reader to examine their own money habits, beliefs, and assumptions. It doesn't prescribe a one-size-fits-all formula, but it does offer a clear, compassionate philosophy that financial success is less about knowledge and more about behavior. That humility beats hubris. That patience beats timing. And that enough is indeed enough. In a world flooded with financial noise, Morgan Housel offers something rare: clarity. He invites readers to slow down, think deeply, and make decisions not just with their wallets, but with their hearts and minds. The Psychology of Money is more than a finance book. It's a book about life, values, and the quiet, powerful strength of choosing wisely, even when no one's watching.